Sweet. We're going to do a couple different takes here, but... They're both good. All right. What are we talking about, Max? Actually, this is what we're talking about. We're going to talk about who you are first.
Okay.
What your favorite color is. Ready, go.
I'm Max, the service manager at Abracadabra. My favorite color is orange.
Wouldn't have taken you for an orange. I would have thought of blue for sure.
Like that orange in sunsets. That kind of ambery orange color.
Okay. Now I'm picking up what you're laying down. All right, so other than your favorite color, what are we going to talk about today, Max?
We're going to talk about subterranean termites.
Exciting. So exciting.
Yeah, which we don't normally see here in Minnesota, but we've been seeing them lately. We've done multiple termite treatments in the last 6 months, which blows my mind. Before this, yeah. I've seen barely any termites in Minnesota.
So it sounds like it's a growing problem. Obviously, we've been getting a lot more calls. So, like, what could people look for in their home to kind of be proactive and see if they do have termites in their house? Like, what are some things to look for?
Termites can be pretty tough to spot. What most people notice are the mud tubes that they create when they're traveling from their colony, which is in the soil outside, to a food source. And that food source usually starts with moisture-damaged wood. So, and this goes for carpenter ants too. Yep. When the wood in your house gets damaged by a leaking pipe or by the grating around your house tilting toward the house and rainwater comes in and damages things, that compromised wood becomes more available to things like termites and carpenter ants.
Okay, so mud tubes on the inside and the exterior of the home, typically coming up from the ground.
Yep.
What else could they maybe
you could see termite swarmers, which are the kings and queens of a termite colony.
What time of year does that usually happen?
It really depends on where in the country you are. Here, it's hard to say. Likely late winter or early spring, we might see termite swarms, but we don't have a
keep an eye out. It sounds like you see a whole bunch of almost ant-like.
Swarmers, so ants have swarmers too, and termite and ant swarmers look very similar. It can be really tough to tell them apart if you're not familiar with insect ID in general. And it can be tough even if you are familiar. It's the wing length is in a termite, they have 4 wings, and all of those wings are the same length. And in ants, they have 4 wings, but the front wings are longer than the back wings. So it can be we get calls about termite swarmers, and it actually turns out to be ant swarmers.
At the end of the day, it's our job to figure that out.
Yep.
And help the homeowners and business owners remove it, right? But so let's take a step back. So rather than waiting until the issue's there, how can we proactively try to prevent some of these things, or how can homeowners or business owners get in front of having a termite infestation?
General pest control will often prevent termite issues from occurring. It's a fairly straightforward foundation treatment on the exterior of the home if we're just doing a preventative. We can also set up monitoring systems with termite bait devices and keep an eye on those.
So let's say somebody's moving into a new home and they find out they have termites. That customer calls us, we come out. Like, what's our process to eliminate that current activity?
So we'll do an inspection and make sure it's termites because they can be misidentified pretty easily. Once we identify them as termites, it's a foundation treatment and a trenching treatment around the perimeter of the home. If the home is surrounded by sidewalk or cement, we'll have to drill through that and get beneath it. It can be a process, but usually it's pretty easy.
The goal is getting it below grade, right? Because essentially termites in our area will only be coming up from subterranean, sub meaning below, terrain meaning the ground, right?
Correct.
So they're coming up from below that. and then the mud tubes essentially make it so you're never really going to see them, right?
Yeah.
Other than the swarmers, you never really see them because the tubes are designed to kind of
they'll camouflage
them a little bit, right?
Yep. The tubes, termites need moisture to live, and so they create these tubes to basically seal off in a wet environment for them to travel to and from the soil underground to their food source in the home.
And worst case scenario with termites, like how bad can it get? Like, what's it actually impact the homeowner or the home itself?
So it can get bad. It takes years for a termite colony to mature to a point where it'll create a big issue. A mature termite colony is usually 6 or 7 years old, and at that point they're around 50,000 members. And that's when they start to exponentially increase. They have multiple queens producing more termites, and then they can really start damaging a home. Down south, you'll see colonies in the millions, and theoretically, those could eat up to a pound of wood a day. Whoa. So it'll go through.
Hungry.
They'll go through a house pretty quickly.
That's ridiculous. So moving forward, this is something we're obviously going to be paying attention to here at Abracadabra. All the homes that we're preventing pest activity, we're going to start looking for termite activity as well, right?
Correct.
But another thing that we've started to see is some of the housing turnover is where a lot of termite transactions happen in other states, right?
Yep.
Somebody's selling a home. The bank that's putting the mortgage up against that needs to make sure that this home isn't compromised at its core to prevent essentially liability for that loan they're giving out. So, it's not a crazy thing to say that down the line, every home transaction could potentially require termite inspection and potentially treatment if there's anything identified. So
yeah, I think that'll happen. It'll take a while, but we're heading that way.
Yeah, banks are all about covering their liability also. So, understanding that, it's just a matter of increasing number of these events occurring and awareness to them. And one of the big things that is kind of our job is making people aware, because there's actually companies and other organizations that have misidentified things that actually are termites, right? Because the belief is that we don't have termites in Minnesota. Honestly, like a year and a half ago, I would have argued with you saying there weren't termites in Minnesota. Never had that experience, but the increasing amount for us is something that we really need to be aware of so we can protect our customers. And talking about it will hopefully facilitate some more of those conversations with other operators and help us protect more homes and more homeowners, right? So is there anything else that you got a lot of fun facts about bugs, right? So let's spit some fun facts about termites real quick.
Well, termites are technically a cockroach. They are. There's a fairly recent publication, I think it's 2018, where they were reclassified. But entomologists, I think I read in 1937 there was an entomologist who was trying to get that classification changed. So we've known for a while that termites are a social cockroach, but they were just recently officially classified a few years ago.
There you go. You heard it here. Maybe probably first, because my assumption is you guys don't talk about bugs as much as we do. What else is fun about termites?
There are over 2,000 species of termites worldwide. The only species we have, as far as I know, in Minnesota that will come into a home is the eastern subterranean termite. But you get further south, even as far south as Iowa, and you start seeing more species that can cause damage in a home.
Okay. Let's see. What else?
They're going to be slow to grow in colony size here in Minnesota because of our harsh winters. They have to go pretty far underground below the frost line, so they're going to be spending their winters either up against the foundations of our homes where it's a little warmer, or they'll be 5 feet under. So that really inhibits the colony's growth. So,
but they're cockroaches, so they can freaking adapt to anything and survive, right?
Yep.
So it's just a matter of having enough times to reproduce and go through the Darwinian process of natural selection.
Yeah.
So
the rate that they reproduce, they're able to go through those minor microevolutions to adapt to their new environments.
Riveting. What else do we want to talk about with termites? Anything? How big are they? Are we like?
They're very, very small. I have some samples here. I don't know if we'll be able to see them, but they're extremely small subterranean termites.
Yeah.
So these are
Minnesota
workers.
Born and bred.
Yep, these are samples I collected
Workers.
from St. Paul.
Hmm.
And then here's a couple soldiers, also very small. You get further down south and they have termite species that get a lot bigger than this, but eastern subterranean termites are a pretty small species.
And they're pretty much white.
Yep, they're kind of a creamy white color. The soldiers have yellow or orangish mandibles.
Where did you pluck or harvest these ones from? Was it like, did you bust open a tube and get them, or like?
These ones came from a rotting stump out in the yard of the house that we found mud tubes at.
Gotcha. Man,
Yeah,
gotta love termites.
The garage, the house, both structures were just covered in mud tubes. You peel back the insulation in the basement, and there were mud tubes. They explore and they create spidery mud tubes going in all directions until they find wood they can eat.
And then they just go to town.
Yeah.
Then it's party time.
Yep.
Well, got any termites, give us a call. Hopefully call us if you just have a house so we can make sure you never have termites, because that sounds like it'll suck pretty bad. Thanks for your time again, Max.
Thank you.
I appreciate you humoring me and asking you questions that I should already know the answer to, just so everyone else gets to learn from you.
It's my pleasure.
We appreciate your knowledge, and yeah, thanks, dude. That's a good one.